Green seasoning is one of the first traditions many Caribbean children learn in the kitchen, long before recipes were written down. What most people don't realize is that the fragrant paste traces its roots back to West Africa, where the technique began centuries before it ever reached the Caribbean. I'm your host, Chef Mireille, chef, food historian, culinary storyteller, and a lifelong passion for global cuisines, culinary history, and the stories behind the food we eat. Today, we're diving into the history of what we call Epis, Sofrito, or green seasoning, and its roots trace back to West Africa. Although most people now use blenders or food processors, traditionally it was the mortar and pestle or the pilon that children were given to pound garlic and peppers to make the epis, sofrito, green seasoning, and even ají criolla. As the green seasoning came together with different types of peppers, onions, and herbs, the kitchen was transformed into an aromatic secret haven where the magic was soon to begin. Once the green seasoning hit the oil in the pot and its aroma permeated the entire room, the hunger pangs started. But green seasoning is far more than a cooking aid. It's history, it's memory, it's resilience. And the technique itself is far older than most people realize and far beyond the Americas. Nokos is the original green seasoning. Long before green seasoning was bottled, labeled, or regionalized, it already existed in West Africa, in what was historically known as Senegambia, and in what today encompasses several West African countries. Nokos is not treated as a recipe, but as a culinary foundation. Nokos is a paste of aromatics prepared ahead of time and used to season meats, fish, and stews before cooking begins. What matters most is not a fixed ingredient list, but the method: fresh aromatics, green herbs, heat, acid, blended or pounded into a paste. This seasoning logic prioritizes depth, efficiency, and adaptability, essential qualities in communal cooking traditions across West Africa. Culinary adaptation in the Americas. When millions of West Africans were forcibly transported across the Atlantic, they did not arrive with spice cabinets or kitchen tools. What they carried instead was memory. Faced with unfamiliar landscapes and new ingredients, African cooks rebuilt familiar flavors using what was locally available. While ingredients changed, techniques endured. Green seasoning pastes emerged again and again under different names in different places because the method worked. Now, let's get into the sofrito debate. Before examining the regional names, it's important to address the ongoing sofrito debate. Spain is often credited as the origin point of Caribbean sofrito. Yet history has a long pattern of overlooking African influence when colonial narratives dominate the record. After all, often history is written by those who have hung heroes. In much the same way that Moorish contributions to Iberian cuisine were minimized for centuries, African culinary techniques across the Americas were frequently absorbed, renamed, and disconnected from their origins. The structural similarities between sofrito, epis, green seasoning, and nokos are too striking to dismiss. Across the African diaspora, the green seasoning base consistently appears. Haitian epis and Caribbean green seasoning function as marinades and cooking foundations. Caribbean sofrito anchors stews, rice dishes, and meats. South American ají criolla exists between seasoning and condiment. Despite regional variations, the underlying structure remains the same: aromatic, herbal, spicy, acidic, blended, with heat adjusted or omitted depending on region. This is not parallel evolution, it is continuity. These seasonings are often framed as purely local traditions with African influence mentioned only in passing, if at all. When African contributions are acknowledged, they are usually reduced to ingredients, not technique. But technique tells the deeper story. Recognizing Nokos as the ancestor of green seasoning reframes Caribbean and Latin American cuisines not as derivative, but as innovative, adaptive foodways shaped under the conditions of one of humanity's greatest atrocities, slavery. Today, green seasoning lives on in freezers, blenders, and reused jars across the diaspora. It adapts, it evolves, it endures. And every time it hits oil, it carries a history older than the plantation, a reminder that African foodways did not disappear, they evolved and were redefined. You can find recipes for green seasoning, Haitian Epis, Sofrito, and ají criolla on my website. You'll find links to the recipes and other resources in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. You can explore over 1,000 recipes from around the world on my website, linked in the show notes. Whether you're cooking tonight or just curious, there's something there for you. I'm Chef Mireille. See you next time.